Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And this one feels like a particularly important one for FPL this week, primarily because everyone's talking about Chelsea. Let me introduce you to our Chelsea correspondent, Gary Mantle. How are you, Gary?
Wonderful, thanks, mate. I'm just looking forward to finding out which three Luton assets I should get this week.
Oh, here we go. That's going to inspire loads of confidence and making his Clash of the Correspondents debut. He's waited 2 weeks to see his team play. He's nearly there. He's our Luton Town correspondent, Dan Ashby. How are you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good, James. Glad to be on this.
Likewise, mate. Good to have you. You're both on because you've both got good runs. It might not feel fit this week, Dan, but once we get into next week, we're going to talk about you do come into a really good run for Luton. But Gary, much of the talk in the FPL community right now is obviously about investing in Chelsea assets. We'll get onto it. But first, reaction to the defeat on Sunday at West Ham.
I actually thought we played all right, to be honest. I don't think it was a 3-1 game. Um, I know on the main pod, Such said he thought West Ham deserved to win, and I do get what he means because when they were ahead, we the second time they were ahead, we really struggled to put anything together. Second half, particularly, didn't really manage to break them down. But certainly up until that point, I actually thought we played pretty well. First half, I thought we had a good first. No, we had a bad first 10 minutes, and then a good next, however many it would have been, 40 probably by the time all the injury times played and everything
Yeah,
like
I
that.
mean, to be honest, the whole of the first half was played in their half, other than basically the corner for their goal near enough. And you should have gone in at half time in front. There's obviously the missed penalty in now as well. But
Yeah.
I get what Suj meant, as you said, from when they went down to 10 men and were in front, didn't really do enough from that point. That must have been pretty frustrating.
So that was something that was very similar to a lot of what we saw last season, mainly under Potter, where against low blocks, we just don't seem to have any ideas on how we're going to get around them, how we're going to get through them. It wasn't as if we were particularly missing a lot of chances. We just weren't creating chances in the second half. First half was more, we had some chances and we didn't manage to finish them. The penalty being one, Jackson's header, etc. And then the second half was more a creativity problem. So it was basically the two big issues we had from last season, both in one game, but this season. So we haven't moved on yet.
So basically, playing low blocks and creativity, you're saying the two
Mm.
biggest problems that you faced at the weekend. But aren't these problems that are going to come up in this great run of fixtures you've got coming up?
Maybe. I'm hoping not, but I kept on hoping not last season, and I kept on seeing it time and time again. Um, I'm hoping that Pochettino's got some sort of idea in mind already, because we know just what we're going to come up against, and we know it's going to be every week.
Dan, is Gary likely to get that on Friday night, a low block? Or is this going to be treated for Luton like, as we said, you've got a really good run of fixtures actually after Chelsea. Do you treat this as a free swing? Or do you go there and try and frustrate, do you think?
I think it'll be a mixture of both. Like we're not going to go out like full press like Leeds or maybe like we would at home. But if you're struggling to break down a low block and we play five at the back, and then I was quite encouraged with how we countered against Brighton. So and we're pretty good from set pieces as well. So I think it's pretty obvious what our game plan will be.
How does that feel reflecting on the Brighton game now over a week on? Was it what you expected from an opening day? So actually, in fairness for yourselves as well, like 4-1 was harsh in the end.
Yeah, it was frustrating. Obviously, the stats show that they battered us really, but if you think of game state at 2-1, we were in the game with what 10 minutes to go, and we make a really bad error. Not just Pelly Ruddert, but also Lockyer could have cleared it, and we tried to play out from the back, which I know why we're doing because we're trying to improve on our ability to counter. Because at that point in time, I think we had Bene, Morris, Doubt. We had quite a lot of pace on the pitch. Where if we can break through the first line, we were causing quite a bit of problem. But yeah, we just got caught, and it was just frustrating, really, because at 2-1, we're in the game, but as soon as it went 3-1, it was game over, and 4-1, they just hit us on the counter. So Yeah, overall, I was pretty happy. Like attacking wise, I was quite impressed because I mentioned throughout pre-season that we need to be better on the counter, and we definitely were with Kabore and Giles, and then Chong running through the middle with Adebayo and Morris. Like I can see what we're trying to do. So yeah, there was positives. Obviously, we can't keep giving away silly goals, but we never really done that last year. So hopefully that doesn't seep in this year.
Yeah, at this level, you get absolutely ruthlessly
Yeah,
exposed and punished. It was a shame for Pelly Ruddock, obviously, kind of
yeah,
historical moment, obviously having been through the 5 divisions with you. But I love the fact that when he made the mistake, a few people went to have a go at him. It was such a bad mistake, no one bothered.
yeah,
Like he didn't
yeah.
need to be told. Unfortunately, those errors will certainly need cutting out. You don't seem that infused, Gary. Is it frustration from the weekend? Is there disappointment what you've seen from Pochettino so far? Because I feel like against Liverpool he played well as well, right? It's not all doom and
But
gloom, mate, surely.
no, it's not. Frustration is the right word.
Yeah.
Like it's particularly after the Liverpool game. Like if we'd won either of those games, you wouldn't really have complained. You wouldn't have said we didn't deserve to win it. It's
No,
not
I
to say
agree.
that we did deserve to win it, but you know what I mean. We played all right.
You could easily
Liverpool
be
was the
sitting on
same.
6 points now, mate.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we would have needed a bit of luck to actually have got 6 points out of it. But yeah, you wouldn't have complained too much. Liverpool was pretty similar. We started pretty slowly. Um, they got the goal and then they got the offside goal and it switched from the offside goal. And then we grew into it. And from then on, I thought we were a lot better than them. Again, particularly second half, without really creating many chances. Possession wise, I think there was 70 something at the weekend and 60 something against Liverpool, which was a surprise. I'm a bit kind of confused at the moment with what Pochettino's trying to do, mainly because it's different to what he was trying to do in pre-season. I don't yet know the reason why. It could be because Nkunku's not there. It could be because Dizazi is there. It could be because he's going to switch back when Casado and or Lavia fit. At the moment, I don't know.
But can you elaborate on that? What was different in pre-season to what we've seen in these first 2 games?
The shape looked different, although it's not that different. It's using different players. We've certainly got an additional centre back in there now, but it doesn't mean that they're playing as a centre back.
No, he's basically playing left back, isn't he?
Colwell's basically playing as a left
Yeah.
back, but as you said, we had I don't know what the stats, but it's something like 76% against West Ham. So you don't really know how different it would have been had they attacked us. It's like Jared Bowen barely got in the game, so you don't know. Had they been attacking down that side, would Colwell have had to come in? Would Chilwell have to come deeper? I don't know. Because Chilwell, to be fair, even though he was playing in midfield, he wasn't actually as attacking as he had been either. It was almost like he wasn't quite as defensive or quite as attacking. He was just a midfielder, basically. The main difference, as I said, is Nkunku's gone. There was a few times in the first half, let's say Conley's injured, obviously, that we would attack down the right and the ball would find its way into this gap in the penalty area and there was just nobody there. And that was the sort of Nkunku position. I was really impressed with Jackson and Sterling and then link-up play, which was mainly down the right. And then it almost felt like we were playing a 3-5-2 at times. And we needed one of them to be a bit further forward because it was almost as if Sterling and Jackson were just trying to do everything on their own, but they were forced quite wide. And I don't know, it meant it just wasn't quite as dynamic. I don't know if it's a shape thing or if it's just because it's Nkunku, because Nkunku loves making those runs in when somebody else makes the run to create a space kind of thing. This is what I said about in pre-season, that I'm not that enthused by Chukwuemeka. I think he's brilliant. His goal was outstanding, but he's not a 10. He doesn't play in the front three like that. So I don't know if Mudrik's finally going to get a start or if Pochettino doesn't like Mudrik or what's going on there.
You would think that these 2 next fixtures, Luton and Forest at home, feel almost like under the circumstance, he doesn't put Mudryk in the team when will he? Or does it feel that way to you?
And particularly now that Chukwuemeka's almost certainly out. So he's got that hole to fill. Now, the option is he could do is put Pesedo in where Gallagher is and put Gallagher in Chukwuemeka's position. And then we've just got the same problem. We look like we don't have a great deal of attacking threat at the moment in the final third.
Well, it's almost round circle. We've laughed for a couple of years about Jorginho was your top scorer 1 year. Wasn't Lukaku your top scorer in all comps last year or something stupid the year before?
The year before, yeah.
You look at the midfield, and obviously it's massively improved. Once you obviously get Caicedo and Lavia up to speed as well, it will do massively. But you do look across it and think, I'm not sure where the goals are in it. Like, unless Mudryk steps up or Sterling gets back to Man City number Raheem Sterling, it's almost like who's going to contribute. I get what you mean about moving Gallagher forward. But Gallagher's not going to get you 12 to 15 goals. Exactly. And you're used to your best having your Lampards and stuff like that, right?
So our best, the best that we've ever been, was always with Drogba as the centre forward, but he wasn't usually the top scorer. Lampard was usually the top scorer, but also it was the players that would play off Drogba, like Duff, like Robin, and then Joe Cole, and then later on, even when it wasn't Drogba, even then when it was Eden Hazard, it was playing off, like Diego Costa would score goals, but would also help like bring other players in. Pedro would contribute, Willian would contribute, everyone would contribute. That's what we've been missing, I think, for a number of years now, to be honest. And what we're doing at the moment is not helping that at all. It's all, so it felt quite often yesterday like we were a man light when we were going forward.
So what do you think the solution at the moment is, Gary, to get the best out of this currently?
Right now, I think it's to start Mudryk. I think we need to play an actual attacking front three. I don't know if Pochettino's quite set on this like back three. We don't exactly know why he's doing it. As I said, we didn't feel like we were doing it, and he's talked about in interviews how it's a back four, but it's also a back three depending on the phase. And we're at a point now that formations are just going out the window because it's fairly lopsided anyway. It didn't feel like, it felt like yesterday it probably got the best out of Sterling and arguably Jackson as well. But then, as I say, there was something missing. And I think that's probably, in my opinion, that's probably Mudryk.
Dan, you must be shitting yourself about Friday night listening to this.
Really, to be honest.
On a Mudryk serious, Gary, is that a negative for Chilwell if he plays?
I'm not sure. It might be because he took Chilwell off and we don't know why. 15 minutes after he brought Mudryk on. It shouldn't be though. In pre-season, it wasn't. Mudryk really likes cutting inside.
Or does he just play him in a central area and leave it the same?
I think he'll drift anyway. To be honest, because we didn't see that much of him last season, I only realised in pre-season that he's right-footed. I just assumed he was left-footed. But I then found out, oh no, he wasn't just having loads of good shots with his weaker foot. That's his stronger foot. But if you watch some of his shots from yesterday, you can see what I thought was his weaker foot as well. He
didn't impress when he came on, mate.
Well, the thing is, he didn't, particularly from in front of goal, but when he gets the ball, he gets his head up and he wants to drive forward and he will get down the line and he'll beat his man and he will be able to put crosses in with his left foot. And we did create a chance that fell to Sterling where he couldn't sort of get the ball out of his feet. It was from Mudryk getting beyond his man into the byline. So like, it's obvious there's something there. Now that's Mudryk going around the outside. Obviously, as we all know, he's right-footed. So Chilwell has then got that space to get around him on the outside. And it did work well in pre-season.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. It felt like you took Chilwell off because Mudryk was on the pitch.
I think we probably did.
So a lot of people will own Chilwell right now in FPL. And Dan, you're shaking your head. Do you want to jump in on that?
I don't understand why managers are complicating it. Why didn't he just put Chilwell down to left back and take Colwill off? It's really not that hard.
I mean, he was losing as well, Gary, right? So or was it 1-1 at that point?
No, it was on the hour, so we were losing.
So yeah, I mean,
just over
exactly what
60
Dan
minutes.
said. If you wanted to have that and have kind of the offensive, but I agree. Why didn't you just take Colwell off, or even Silver or Disasai and just move Colwell inside?
Yeah.
Well, you know him better than I do. You ask him. I don't know why. I don't know what he was doing.
I'll tell you what I told
confused
you
at
in
the moment.
pre-season that I told you in the first 3 months it was with Tottenham. It took we couldn't really see what was coming through. All this, you're going to be a big pressing team and that. We couldn't see it. And then suddenly it came together. Once he got the players that he'd had a look at everyone, and once he decided that this is going to be the core of players, and these are the players I don't want to be around the club and stuff. And I think, to be fair, Chelsea have tried to do quite a bit in terms of trying to move people on quite clearly. It's like once you've identified what he wants, then it will come through. And I said to you, I thought it would take a while to come through.
Yeah, and I think that what's disappointing for me in that regard is that after pre-season, I told you there were 8 players that were definitely going to play, of which now Nkunku's injured and Kepa's gone. But I mean, that's just a goalkeeper, so it doesn't count. But we're almost like, even of those, the remaining 6, they're not as nailed anymore, because it's now, we'd set up where we arrived with something at the end of pre-season. We thought that's going to be what we're going to go into the season with. And then we've started with something completely different. And it might just be because Nkunku's injured. It might be because Disasi wasn't there in pre-season. It might be because Caicedo is only now just there. But the reality is I'm confused at the moment. I don't know what's coming from
It sounds like you need to buy some players, mate. It's
been a while, to be honest. Yeah. We need something to deflect away from the defeat at the weekend. So,
just buy some more players. Does Rob Edwards overcomplicate things, Dan? Or do we know exactly what we're getting? Like, is this definitely kind of like a 3-5-2 on Friday night?
Yeah, I think so. I know we changed to 4-3-3, but we were losing at that point. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's exactly the same side as it was against Brighton, to be honest. I know Barkley started training. He's not up to match fitness, so he might be in the squad. Burke's back in training. He might be in the squad. And obviously we signed Krul, but I think he's just going to be backup goalie. So, yeah, even with Barkley, we've got Gillingham after Chelsea, where I think he'll get more minutes in that. So, yeah, I think it would just be the same 11 that started against Brighton.
Was that when you saw that Luton had signed Ross Barkley? Because I don't recall it seeing rumoured. You might be more in the know of what's happening in terms of Luton news, but it did feel like, oh, you've signed Ross Barkley. Didn't know that was happening. What was your reaction to that? Is that like giddy excitement, or is that this guy didn't turn up at Chelsea for 3 or 4 years? Like that, what is that?
No, it's quite exciting. I can see why fans from other teams might view it as it's not, but we don't really have a player that can win a game on its own. Whereas I know Barkley might not be able to do it to the levels he was at Everton, but if he does it a few times a season, he can win us points. Even if he's coming off the bench for 20, 25 minutes, which I'm not sure he will be, but it's just someone who has that bit of magic. Well, I'll say magic, but compared to the rest of our players, has something that we currently don't have. And we've been very good throughout our signings in the window, trying to recruit players that give us something different. If we're in like losing or winning games, like pace, power, height, we've recruited. We've made 10 signings, which I think probably most clubs will think it's gone a bit under the radar because we're not splashing a mega amount of money, but each player has been brought in specifically to bring in something. But yeah, going back to Ross Barkley, it came out of nowhere, and look, it's a 1-year deal, probably maybe with an option. He's probably not even on. Well, he'll probably be our top earner, but he's not going to be on massive amounts, I don't think.
Gary, any comments on Ross Barkley?
No. Like, I've always had this thing with Chelsea players that there's a certain like group of players that have played for Chelsea but have always played better against Chelsea. players like Fernando Torres did it. Falcao scored a hat-trick against us. Robert Fleck, if you're old enough. And I'm assuming that Ross Barkley's not going to be one of them. But who knows at this stage?
Well, I hope it works out, Dan. I don't suppose fitness-wise he'll go straight into the team. I actually saw him play for Nice against Tottenham in a friendly in December. He certainly wasn't the player I remembered. But he doesn't mean he can't do a good job for you, mate. I think it'll take a while.
Yeah, like I said, he might be involved. He won't be starting the game, and we've got Gillingham in midweek where I think we'll build up his minutes. So I think it's just mainly just something a bit different off the bench. And also like Premier League experience, we just don't have that really, apart from Nakamba and Tim Krul now. We're very light on it.
Happy with Kaminsky and what you've seen so far in goal?
Yeah. Yeah, very happy. Was one of the better goalies in the championship. And we mentioned goalie was a bit of a troubled area. We've had a problem with it for about 3 or 4 seasons. So we've now brought in Kaminsky, who I think will be number one, and we've got good experience back up in Tim Krul. So long term, I think that'll be, whether we stay up or go down, we look pretty solid in that area now.
Okay. Gary, your goalkeeper situation caught a lot of people by surprise. If I'd have said to you 3 weeks ago, Kepa's going to Real Madrid, and you'll get another player from Brighton, not called Casado originally, would you have believed that?
Also would have. You saw how stupid our transfer window was. It's exactly the kind of thing we'd have done.
Come on, give me, on this one particularly, give me the rationale on this. What is it? Because particularly the fact it's gone on loan as well, right? What's the rationale?
That's what I didn't really agree with. The rationale is that he is on really high wages. He's one of our highest earners. This is a hangover from the Abramovich years. I don't know the exact salaries because you always get rumours, and I don't think there's any point in continuing with the speculation. But I know that he was a high earner, that they wanted to get that off the books, and Real Madrid would be covering that. Of course, they can afford it. They're one of the few that can. I should say that on Kepa, the 2 clubs that looked at getting him in were Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, so he can't be that bad for what everybody's been saying about him.
It's worth saying in both cases the number one goalkeepers have very serious injuries, right?
Yeah, but they are 2 clubs that are going to look to challenge for the Champions League, and they looked at him to be the goalkeeper that's going to come in. It doesn't mean he's as good as their previous 2 goalkeepers. But mind you, he's probably not even that far off Manuel Neuer these days. But for us, I think it was a wages thing, plus their absolute love of just buying and selling or loaning players wherever they see possible. I think he probably, once he heard of the interest, I think he probably wanted to go. And we don't seem to be standing in anybody's way. But I mean, look, he's Spanish and it's Real Madrid.
Yeah, so, I get it. I get it from the player's perspective completely.
That's it. But I think now the kind of philosophy is if a player's looking to leave, we're not going to stop them from leaving. We're trying to build a harmonious group that are supposed to grow together, or whatever phrase you want to use.
Do you think you'll buy another goalkeeper before the window shuts?
We've got to buy another goalkeeper.
So you've got to. When you say you've got to buy another goalkeeper, is that buy another number one because you don't rate Sanchez or someone behind him? That's okay.
No, that did sound like I meant that, didn't it? No, I mean that we don't have a backup goalkeeper at the moment. I mean, Bettinelli's the backup. He's injured. So I don't actually know who was on the bench. I'm guessing Bergstrom was probably on the bench at the weekend.
I'd have to check for you, Gary. It's your football club, mate. That's what you're here to tell me. Don't worry, I'll get it for you, mate. What's the situation with Slonina then? Has he gone?
Slonina has gone on loan. So he had to go on loan as well. He's 18 or 19. He's a USA goalkeeper. There's absolutely no point in having a goalkeeper that age on the bench because how are they ever going to develop? So he's gone on loan to somebody in the Belgian league. It's either going to be Bergstrom or Sharman Lowe.
Lucas Bergstrom was on the bench for you, mate.
Bergstrom. Yeah.
How old is he when he's at home?
How old is he?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess 18.
Oh, wait, what's he sitting on the bench for then? It's no good for his development either.
Yeah, because he's never going to be good enough, so they don't care. Whereas Slonina probably is going to be good enough.
So in short, what I'm saying is, if fantasy managers want to get Sanchez at the moment, I guess that's a little dangerous.
Yeah,
because something opportunistic could come up where you buy a number one, right?
Exactly that. That's what we like, because that's already what's happened once when I just told you in pre-season that Kepa was nailed. We've already done that.
Was David Raya not obvious enough for both of us, by the way? I include my club in that.
Well, when we went to Brentford, they told us it was 40 million.
Same.
So we paid 20 plus 5 for Sanchez. And then he goes to Arsenal for 3 million.
On loan, we should say, with an option to buy for 30 million, I think, to clarify. Pochettino also mentioned on Sunday after the game about potentially buying a striker. And now I think a few people interpret that as buy a striker to potentially come in place of Jackson. But I read it from, I think Pochettino sometimes can get his words slightly misused, if you will, and abused a little bit. I think he meant forward player, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Or did you think he meant a number 9?
No, I'm sure that he's happy with Jackson. I don't know why he wouldn't be. I've been happy with Jackson. He's doing what I told you that he would do in the pre-season, where I think he's going to play well, and I think he has played well, but I don't think it's always going to translate to FPL points. I think he's also going to struggle for confidence every now and then, and at the moment that's probably going to be the case until he scores his first goal. But the work that he does on the ball, off the ball, everything like that it's exactly what you want from a number 9. Some of his link-up play with Sterling. The thing is, if one of those like opportunities had actually like come to fruition, if we'd got a goal, we'd be having a different conversation.
So I'm thinking about Jackson this week.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to put me off?
No.
Go for it, yeah?
Yeah. Like, so the player that came on is Mason Burstow. He didn't come on for Jackson, he came on with Jackson. And I don't really know how he's made it into our first team, because he was like an opportunistic sort of signing from Charlton. He's not one of our youth players. He's a Charlton player that it's the same as Joe Gomez at Liverpool. He's not, we've just snapped him up because they were playing him from a young age. I don't think he's going to be good enough to play for our first team. I don't think he was incredible in our youth team. We just didn't really have any ideas. I don't know why Maxson hasn't really. Well, I don't know why he didn't come on at the weekend. I'm assuming that it's going to be like another sort of number 10, particularly with Nkunku being out with Chukwuemeka. We don't know what's happening there, but that didn't look great. We're already somehow we've managed to look light again.
I don't mean to laugh about it, Gary, but the whole country is a little bit.
I know.
It's going to come because of the volume of money that's been spent, right?
Of course, and then you can really complete it by reminding me that Lukaku's still on the books, and we're just refusing.
Well, I was going to ask you. I wasn't, because we did that in pre-season, and that is, he'll end up in Saudi Arabia or something, won't he?
That's what. It's exactly the same situation. It's just he's just doesn't seem to have just accepted. Like, you have got one choice, and it's Saudi Arabia, because nobody else is going to pay. Because in the meantime, Vlahovic, who Juventus were trying to just offload to us, has now started playing well for Juventus. So now they're like, oh, do we need Lukaku? No. Did they ever need him? No. But now they've realised that as well. So,
Dan, can you put me off Nicholas Jackson?
Try.
You could try it. Well, no. Should I be looking elsewhere because of you? Or even, let's put it a different way. Should I wait a week?
It's hard, isn't it? We weren't great at the back, were we? I think I'd be more interested in Chilwell. I've got Chilwell in my team.
You've got him.
I think
we've already worked out he's getting dropped. We're joking before people take that seriously, but I wouldn't be that surprised.
I would say our right side's probably a bit weaker at the minute, as we're having to play Anderson, who's normally I think he's been brought in to play centre of the 3, and with Osho and Burke out, we're having to play him there. So if I think back to the goals, although Anderson was off, I think I'd be going for Chilwell would be my first choice, but I wouldn't say anyone not to get Jackson.
So longer term, who do you think would be the first choice right-sided centre-back?
Well, I think that's one area we might actually recruit. we've been linked with Tanganga from
I've
Spurs
seen that. Yeah.
um, and I can't remember his name. That he was that Man United youngster who's gone out on who's been released. He was at Stoke. It's going to annoy me now. But basically, we've got two centre backs who we've been linked with. So
Are you not stocked in that
we've
area
got
though, or is it a case of quality is a problem now?
we need quality, I think. Um, and we've got three defenders out injured at the minute. So um, we've got 24-man squad now of the players who I think will be there. So we're probably only going to make one, maybe two, and even then you're forcing someone out. So yeah, I would say centre back is
But
probably the
you'll have to
area.
be ruthless with that if you want to get players in and loan some of these players to that are on the fringes to say championship clubs and stuff. You'll have to be ruthless about it.
We've already told the 4 or 5 that they're not being registered to go and find a club, but
Right.
we've loaned a few out. We've got a couple that are, if we were in the championship, I think they might have been in the squad, like Louis Watson, defensive mid, and McAtee impressed during pre-season, but I think they're going to get loaned out maybe towards the end of the window.
Are we in a position now, Dan, that Kabore and Giles, that first choice, a wing back, is it? Or is Doty still very much in competition with both of them, I guess?
Yeah, yeah, he's in competition. I thought Doughty would start at left back just because he played a lot of minutes in pre-season, but that was really 50-50. But just Giles' ability to put crosses in and Deadpool situations is we need him in the team. Um, Doughty did play a lot at right wing back. Like he came on for Kabore during pre-season. But I think he got subbed early. He did get booked, Kabore, and then a few minutes later he got taken off. Obviously, they didn't want him to be up against Stupinan and Matoma, so
Yeah, I get that.
I think Kabore's first choice, but we're going to use all 5 of our subs, I think, especially with how we're going to try and play. We're not going to have the ball, but we're going to try and press us if we can. So Jacob Brown looked lively when he came on for Adebayo. Ogbene done well. We'll have Barkley, Campbell. We've definitely got options on the bench. And we've recruited quite well, so there won't be as much of a drop off when we make like for like changes. Maybe apart from Morris, I think Morris is standout striker,
But the others might get
all
rotated.
over not so much rotated, just like at 60, 70th minute, we won't be afraid to make subs because there just won't be a drop off between players, I don't think.
We were in agreement in pre-season that Kabore was the best of the 4.0s at your club.
Yeah.
Is that still the opinion or has that changed?
I think it is because watching the highlights, he got really far forward, put in a couple of decent balls where he just missed Morris and Adebayo. So I think Bore is the option, especially if you. How often are you even going to be playing him? I'm not sure you're playing him that often anyway. So
No, but as we said, after this Chelsea game, we certainly, even in any case, because of fixtures of others this week, I mean, it feels like every kind of owned FPL asset has got a good fixture defensively this weekend. It feels like in terms of starting players anyway.
Yeah.
But afterwards, West Ham at home, Fulham away, Wolves at home, Everton away, Tottenham at home, Nottingham Forest away, before a trip to Villa is then followed by games against Liverpool and Manchester United. That run, game week 4 to 10, we identified it in pre-season. It's pretty important. There will be FPL managers now looking at enabler to make another move. So, for example, it might be, we are recording during the Arsenal game, I should say at the moment, downgrading Gabriel to Kabore to move João Pedro to Jackson, for example. Is that still the recommendation for you? Or do you think there are better 4.0 defenders in the game currently than Kabore, for example?
But maybe the is it Gasto from Chelsea might be better. I think, like I said, that my opinion hasn't changed. Kabore is the only natural right wing back at Luton at the minute, and I'll be surprised if he doesn't play. Well, start most games, so he's definitely still an option. And if you have him, I wouldn't worry about getting rid of him. But
No, I
I
don't think
think,
people are on surely are stuck and they're just going to accept it now. I should
yeah,
imagine. Is there
I
any
think you
case to
can.
pay the extra 0.5 for Charles?
Maybe he's going to be on set pieces and throughout pre-season and even in the Brighton game, we he created chances. He's got such a good left foot. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets close to 10 assists this
You've answered
season.
my next question,
If we're
mate.
gonna, yeah, if we're gonna score, I can see a lot of goals coming, like him crossing it in for Morris or Adebayo, or like I said, he's on corners and things like that. So
Yeah,
set pieces, if
some
we're gonna
people at the
score, is
moment
another.
are struggling to spend the money. I think in certain circumstances, particularly those perhaps
Yeah,
without Mo Salah and Trent, for example. And there is if you're looking for a rotator, particularly short term, like if you think, oh, I'm going to wild card around about that Liverpool swing again around about game week 9, then I think there is a case to make a case for Giles. You obviously wouldn't start this week, but you could rely on nearly all the rest of those fixtures. Tottenham, you might not feel comfortable, subject to how it is by the time it comes around. But all the rest, you wouldn't be that bothered if he ended up having to come in for you.
yeah.
So it's a decent run of
The
fixtures
only
there,
thing
certainly.
is Doughty is in lurking in the background, and to be honest, he's quite he should feel quite hard done by to be not a starter. He was excellent in the championship, so we didn't make a lot of changes though throughout the season, like rotation, and we'll probably only be playing like once a week anyway. So I just don't see we'll be rotating a lot unless
Yeah,
something is particularly wrong.
I feel as well the fact that Giles came straight in for that first game because we weren't
Yeah,
convinced that he would says to me, okay, yeah,
yeah.
they're going to get him in. Gary, Dan mentions Malo Gusto. Thoughts on him as a player in the first instance before you think is he an FPL option or not?
I think he's played pretty well. I think he's done all right. Well, so what did he came on against Liverpool and then he started against West Ham. And I didn't notice him from an attacking sense as much as I had thought that I probably would. But defensively, I thought he was pretty good. He got beaten by Benrahma at one point, and then because of his pace, he got back round and like tackled him for a corner. It's one of those where sometimes people go, "Oh, he's lucky he's got his pace." It's like, well, he does know he's got his pace. He will do that kind of thing because he knows that he can
The
get
old
back
Cole
round.
Walker adage, but Cole
Yeah,
used to
that's
take
it.
liberties massively.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. But they all go in for challenges that like a Thiago Silva wouldn't because he knows that he can still get back
I get
round.
it.
So the fact that Benrahma got behind him isn't going to make like Pochettino go, "Oh, alarm bells there," because he knows that Gusto has got that pace. So I think he's been fine. I think he's been solid. I don't think it definitely means that he's going to be nailed in our lineup.
So I guess the earliest we're looking for Reece James is probably maybe the Bournemouth game week 5. But that's the best.
Yeah,
That's probably best case scenario, isn't it, at the moment after the international break?
yeah, that's what I was going to say. It would be after the international break
So if you
for
did want to
sure.
go Gusto and play him, you've got the Luton and Forest game, surely, haven't you, Gary?
I'm not going to say definitely. Yeah,
You're useless.
No.
Is Enzo Fernandez still definitely going to be on penalties?
I don't know.
Did you think it would be him? Like, was you surprised?
I wasn't surprised. So we'd had this chat a few times in Slack, and he was one of the names that had come up. And we sort of worked out that we thought that the first two were probably Nkunku and James. And then obviously by the time we get a penalty, both of them are injured. So from then on, it's kind of anybody's guess. And I still think it would be those two, especially now, in that order. Nkunku will be the penalty taker. I get the feeling now that James would then be the second penalty taker. And if we get a penalty on Friday, no idea. I hope
The obvious
Jackson
thing
takes
here
it and
that
scores.
was the obvious thing, not just that Sterling took it. Because I know in that Slack comment, I took piss out of a miss he had for Man City. But he has taken penalties. He's taken penalties for England. And I mean, like, in normal time, not just a penalty shootout.
But he didn't take one in the shootout against Italy. He was still on the pitch. Yep. He played the entire 120 and he didn't take a penalty.
You sure?
And yes, I've looked this up because I knew you'd do this. I've checked. He was still on the pitch. He, like most other players, got taken off, but he didn't. Him and Kane were like the two attackers that were still on the pitch. And Enzo didn't take one in the World Cup final, but they only took 4. So I don't know if he was going to be the 5th taker for Argentina. So,
right.
Based on that, I'd wondered if he had stopped taking them because he missed in the Holland game in the quarterfinal.
So if you get one on Friday night, who do you think is taking it?
Certainly. I would hope it would be Jackson, but then he probably should have taken it on. Well, of course, he should have taken. Anyone should have taken it now, shouldn't they?
Well, yeah. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, right?
It wouldn't surprise me if Sterling took it. It would and I wouldn't have a problem with him taking it.
Dan, are we sure Carlton Morris is first choice for Luton? Because he did take a Brighton, but I know Adebayo wasn't on the pitch, right?
Yeah, it's looking more and more likely. He's had the Middlesbrough one. He took one in the playoff final. He's taken that one. Took one in pre-season. He scored them all. So you're getting to the point where it's probably his percentage are going higher and higher. Like I said, Adebayo's record isn't good. So if I had a choice, I'd be picking Morris.
Yeah. Have you got João Pedro at the moment, Dan?
Yeah.
Have you got a plan for him this week specifically?
I might just play him again and just hope he starts. It from the manager's words, it sounded like he's a bit worried about him off the ball. So I wonder whether away from home he wasn't trusted. But I think are they back at home this week? I think.
Yeah, West Ham at home, so that's another big win incoming.
Yeah.
He did say similar about Evan Ferguson last year, so I don't know if it's just a motivational tool. But if he didn't start again this weekend, you're probably thinking you got to sell, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Any ideas where to go?
Yeah.
Are you setting this up for Carlton Morris next week?
Yeah.
Go on, sell it to me.
I just think he's just a natural round good striker, and we talked about it in pre-season how he's left foot, right foot, good in the air. Even against Brighton, I think he got. I think he got
one good real header in the first half, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think if you didn't watch I watched it and the extended highlights back, and he had a few other like chances here and there. He had one header over the bar and things like that. So he's going to be talisman as well. If we score, it's going to come through him as well. So
is this fan choice? Is this no? That's fine. And if it is, I don't blame you at all, mate. But is that fan bias? Or do you think generally, looking at those 6 fixtures, starting from the West Ham game, that genuinely we could be sitting here next week? There's got to be people who will be sitting there next week if João Pedro doesn't start and go, right, I want to move him on. Oh, sugar, I haven't got the money in the bank.
Yeah.
What do I do with this? Look around the other 5.5 forwards and start looking at Edwards and Fabio Silvas and stuff like that. And people will look at Luton's run of fixtures and go, that's all right, that. But there could be a temptation.
I think if you're looking at strikers 5.5, I think Pedro probably was the standout. But with those fixtures, I would put Morris ahead of like Edward and Silva and things like that. So it's just, do you need a striker that cheap? Like you mentioned, we're struggling to spend the money if you don't have Salah or Trent. So my guess is they'll just go up. But I think Morris is probably the best option, 5.5 apart from João Pedro.
But those who hold on, say, let's just say Trent is hypothetically is fit, who hold on with Trent and Salah this week, and then if they come through the Newcastle game, then they're probably not selling afterwards. So then they're sticking. Then structure-wise, you're a bit more tight.
Yeah.
So you are probably, from that perspective, you're either coming down to the 4.5 or you're downgrading something else to then obviously get up further. So if you're stuck at that value, yeah, at 5.5 over that little stretch, I don't think that's bad at all. And it's not that expensive that you couldn't bench it. But I wouldn't be comfortable leaving a talisman on the bench ever, I don't think. Because exactly like the Brighton game, you can get a pen and score.
For people who don't know, yeah, for example, in the champion, I know it's a different level, but he scored 20 goals, 7 assists. So he's not just a goal scorer. He is quite capable of setting other players up as well.
Gary, any Luton in for you at the moment?
Kabore.
You happy with that?
Yeah, captain me. No, I'm happy with what he's. I'm happy. He's doing what I wanted him to do. I watched the Brighton game, and he, exactly as Dan had said in pre-season, he was attacking. They had a couple of good attacks that came down his side, and I was like, yeah, he's a 4 million defender that gets forward, just sits on my bench most weeks. I'm happy.
So what Chelsea's in, Gary?
Well, I had this plan. And his plan was to, yeah.
This is already going to be bad, isn't it?
It is bad. I started with...
You've got Reece James and that's it, isn't it?
No, because we talked about that in pre-season and I said, Reece just hadn't been performing the way that you think that Reece is going to perform, and I just didn't see him as being the same kind of asset, and I said that Chilwell was better, and then Reece is injured anyway. So, no. But what I'd done was I'd assumed that I'd probably want 3 Chelsea for this game. So I started with one that I kept on the bench, which was Mudryk, because I thought he was so lowly owned that he wouldn't go down in price. And then if I was happy with him, I could keep him. And if I wasn't, I could upgrade him.
Has he gone down in price? I wouldn't even know. Right,
He went down in price last night.
Okay.
Like, it was only 3% owned. I just assumed it was 3% of people that weren't really paying attention.
Less ownership, less transfers out needed, mate.
That's it. I know. But they've transferred him out ahead of the game that they probably would have wanted him for in the first place. So
you don't sell now, do you? You keep it, don't you?
Oh, I'm keeping him. I'm absolutely keeping him. But if I had now thought, oh, actually, I'll go for Sterling because he's probably the better asset, and I didn't think he was going to be, I can't afford it with my 0.5 in the bank. I wasn't going to anyway. I was going to stick with Mudryk. So I've got the 3 Chelsea, which is Chilwell, Jackson, and Mudryk. You're about to ask me the best 3.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, if you were wildcarding now as an example, would it now be Chilwell, Sterling, Jackson? And would you go that heavy or not?
Yeah, I would. Like, I've as disappointed as I am and frustrated as I am, which is probably like coming across. It's like we know that Liverpool is obviously a difficult game, and West Ham isn't a particularly easy place to go, particularly when it's a derby. And the fixtures are just better now. So
it's Luton at home, Forest at home, Bournemouth away, Villa at home, Fulham away, Burnley away before you host Arsenal and Brentford. Then it gets a bit choppier, either Tottenham away or Man City at home, depending on how you feel, Gary, which I presume you will say will be from Manchester City at home, obviously, because you like White Hart Lane and stuff like that. And Gary's shaking his head about that. He used to. Yeah. He's shaking his head about that now. No, but it is a great run. Like if I was wildcarding this week, I'd definitely go 3. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I'd go too offensive. I've nearly lost the camera there. I'm not sure I'd go too offensive. I think I'd probably go Gusto, you know. And just know that when James is back, or if it changes, I forget about him. And I'd probably just go Jackson and Chilwell, I think. Although I was really impressed with Raheem on Sunday. He was good, Gary.
I was as well. And like let's have it right. I'm a Chelsea fan. And so when I say to you in pre-season, do I think Raheem Sterling's going to step up? And I say no. I still want him to. Yeah, I still want him to play well. I have no agenda against Raheem Sterling. And if he plays well, I'm going to say that he played well. And I'm going to continue to support him, and I hope that he continues to play well. And that's where we are with Sterling. So hopefully he does continue. And I did say to you even then, like, that as disappointed as he was last season, I wouldn't put him in the category of our most disappointing, because everyone was disappointing. And he actually did show some bits at times. Like one of our two players that scored more than one goal at Stamford Bridge, as I told you. And I'm hoping that that's going to carry on. And there's no way that Pochettino's going to drop him now. So if you want two nailed attackers, it's Jackson and Sterling.
Yeah, no, certainly you're absolutely right about that, unless you do the usual, mate. How many more players are you going to buy in the next 10 days?
Well, we're probably going to buy a forward. We're probably going to buy a goalkeeper. I assume that's it. Okay. 2. What's
the best midfield three when they're all available now? Does Lavia go in that with Caicedo and Fernandes? Is that the plan?
I don't know if it's the plan. I'm sorry I can't answer most of your questions, but like,
no, listen, you haven't seen Lavia in a Chelsea shirt, so I don't know how you meant to answer
exactly.
But
so my big thing this season was I'm going to forget what I've seen last season in particular and other times, but we've got a new manager and we've got a completely new squad, and I'll go by what I've seen. The reality is, Lavia wasn't even on the bench yesterday, so I have no idea what the plan is for him at the moment.
He's short of minutes, isn't he? Caicedo didn't have a lot of minutes in pre-season either.
No, because they kept on coming up with different excuses as to why he wasn't playing. One of which was they dropped him to focus on the Luton game. They told us, and then didn't play.
Who said that?
Luton. It was the original reason for why he didn't play their final pre-season friendly. Caicedo.
When it was Brighton. Sorry, I misunderstood what you meant. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, no, this was a Brighton thing. So like and he didn't play against Chelsea because of the whole Chelsea thing. So yeah you take out. He hasn't played. So I don't know. Is the plan to play the two of them and then Enzo in front, which I do think would work because I think Enzo's good as a creator, sort of in the whole, but only as a creator. I don't think as a goal scorer.
Is he worth a consideration at that price?
Enzo,
because there's a lot of talk of when Caicedo gets in the team of freeing him up, if you will, and he plays more like a traditional offensive 8.
Yeah, but the thing is it's like it's freeing him up to create, and I think there's probably going to be a lot of assisting the assister from Enzo. The play will go through him. Like he doesn't stop wanting to get on the ball. That's why I like the guy. I love players that always want the ball, and he's that kind of player. But it's rare that you're going to create specifically from that position, particularly at home, with teams that are going to sit lower. The chances are you're going to be the ones drawing players in and finding that pass to Sterling, who puts the cross in for nobody usually, but for whoever we're actually going to have in that position. So I don't think it's going to necessarily translate into a lot of fantasy points from Enzo, but I do think it would make the team better. Then the argument is, do we actually need 2 to sit? It depends how we're going to line up.
Yeah, I suspect Lavia will be a backup to start with, is my instinct.
I would have thought he's going to be a backup as well.
Yeah, but I guess that may also be dependent on if someone offers you enough for Gallagher and you decide to cash in, because it's been linked a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, and there must be a reason that it keeps on coming up.
He doesn't want to go. That's clear. No. He wants to play for Chelsea. I know that.
And he's always been adamant about that. And again, that's why he's a massive fan's favourite as well. And he gives everything, and that sometimes is actually to his detriment, that he almost like gives too much.
I get that.
Yeah, we need you to do a specific job. But yeah.
What Chelsea have you got at the moment?
Chilwell.
Are you going to add to it?
No, I don't think so.
Good answer. Gary, cut the quick fires. Would you buy Jackson for Watkins this week?
Who are Villa playing?
Burnley away.
I mean, I would. If I wasn't a Chelsea fan, would I buy Jackson for Watkins this week? Don't know. It's going to be team dependent, really, isn't it? I know that's a sit on the fence answer. They both Jackson is a good asset for this week, but do you really want to sell Watkins?
Watkins goes to Liverpool the following week, if that helps.
Okay. Yes. No, they can't defend either, can they?
Yeah, that's a different podcast for a different day.
Jackson
I've got Watkins. I don't particularly want to move him on, to be totally honest. But I know there's plenty deliberating that move.
I wouldn't say you'd be desperate to do it, to be honest.
No, I'm in agreement. Would you consider downgrading Fernandes or Rashford to Sterling?
Not this week.
Okay. Is Levi Colwill the best 4.5 defender in the game?
No, but I don't know who is. But
Do you think he'll keep his place?
Right, Giles.
Good
there you
answer,
go.
Dan. Who we also ain't sure keep his place, but we think so.
There is something is going to change, I'm sure, and I don't know what. And it could be Colwill, but I do think Pochettino really likes Colwill. So he's probably going to keep his place, but we have nothing to go by with Pochettino and Badiashile, who I think is probably going to be back in the next couple of weeks. I would say for right now, Colwill is going to keep his place. Do I think he's the best 4.5? No, I don't know. We're still not that sure about our defence.
I'll give you a mad prediction based on some Arsenal rumours at the time of recording tonight, and this hasn't been linked. Levi Colwill's an Arsenal player in 10 days.
Absolutely no chance.
Okay, fine. Predict the game Friday night, Gary.
Again, I just struggle to predict clean sheets for us. And I don't even really know specifically why. We just have this habit of we push and we push and we push, and then we get hit. So I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea.
So we're not recommending treble Chelsea defence here, no? Just to clarify. Because we've been down that route as well.
And we talked about that in pre-season. Again, it's something that I'd need to see properly, a consistent back 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever you want to say that actually keep clean sheets. I haven't seen us keep a clean sheets.
If Haaland was injured before the weekend, would you consider captain Chilwell?
I never have luck when I captain defenders, so no.
Dan, upset the apple cart. Gives a prediction, Matt.
1-1.
1-1.
I think we'll score first, and then Chelsea will struggle to break us down.
How many? When did you last win, Gary?
Oh,
it's
I
actually
know
a serious
all of
question. It's
stats,
not even a piss take.
What do you want? Home, away,
home,
Europe
home.
included, or what?
Home. Was it under Potter? Was it Leeds?
Home league game was Leeds under Potter.
Yeah, and Bournemouth away otherwise.
So that was our last win, yeah. But in between that, there was only one other win, which was Dortmund at home.
Yes, in the Champions League last 16, of course.
So we've only won 2 league games at Stamford Bridge this calendar year.
Is this still a confidence issue, do you think? Because it just feels like with Pochettino coming in and stuff, that anything that was kind of last season feels like should have been left there. But of course, you knew what was going to happen if you didn't win any of the first couple. Suddenly, it's not, oh, you haven't won from Pochettino's first 2. It's like 1 win in 15 or whatever it is. It becomes that very quickly.
I think there is a confidence thing. I think there's in particular. This is actually separate, but I think Jackson himself probably needs some confidence. But I know what you're getting at is more with regard to the squad, although a lot of them are new players. But I think there is. We need to get that win. We need to have something to build on. And there's probably also a confidence issue with the fans at the moment.
Yeah, I get that. That's also why I don't think you'll win big Friday. I see it being sort of maybe like 2-0 or something. Don't see it being silly. I don't particularly see it being silly against Forest either, to be totally honest. I think you'll probably win both games, but I don't see you smashing either of them, to be honest. Part because of what you said about low blocks, struggling to break down, creativity, the confidence issues. I think you win both games, but I don't think you win them particularly. Okay, you might win them comfortably. I don't think you win them handsomely, let's say.
Well, here's where I'll remind you that in that little run of home games, we have also played Forest and failed to beat Forest. And nobody failed to beat Forest at home last season, but we managed it. We drew 2-2 towards the end of the season.
You're in the DM group with Matt Samuel and Aaron Lagor, and they'll feel very disrespected by that comment. Oh no, Leicester did beat Forest at home. It's just Matt, I think. Lost at home to Forest. Hi Matt, hope you're well. Matt's on correspondent week really soon, actually, with Aaron, by the way, during the international break. Dan, have you seen anything over these 2 weeks in the Premier League before we finish to make you overly worried and make you think that the pundits who give Luton no chance are absolutely right and you've got no chance?
We've got a chance. In fact, I watched with the Wolves result, made me feel a lot better because we against Brighton, we were in the game with 10 minutes to go. So, yeah, like I've said all along, there's obviously with the top lot when we're probably nowhere near, but then anyone at home or teams away from home, I think we'll pick up points. And our big game's going to be West Ham. Chelsea's a free hit for us, but our West Ham's our main game.
I assume ground is ready. There's no concern there, is there? At all.
I think it's ready.
Yeah.
Well, they've sold us tickets to the Gillingham game, which is a few days before.
That help. Of course, that's on Tuesday night, isn't it? Yeah, that will help. Use that as your test event. Gary, Dan, thank you both so much. Very best of luck on Friday. Gary, anything you want to plug before you go, mate?
No, I've almost given up with the former Bird app because we lose too much, and then there's just a ridiculous reaction.
Yeah, you'll be about as soon as you start winning again, mate. I'll see you in about 6 weeks or so. Dan,
anything you want to?
We know you.
I'll just say that I hate it, but I'm still on there.
Yeah, that's everyone else, mate. You follow Gary at Phantom Mantle on X, Twitter, or whatever Elon's called it by the time we posted this podcast. Dan, anything you want to plug, mate?
Yeah, so I'm at Dan Ashby on Twitter. I'm also co-host of the version of Gaffer, their main pod at EFL_fantasy. I know the season's up and running, but we talk about the championship football if you're interested in that. It's a good laugh.
Have you made a good start in Gaffer?
I'm inside the top 300, and I didn't use the midfield dynamo, so I'm quite happy because that didn't go well. So yeah, I'm looking forward. Hopefully, I have a better year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just outside that at the moment. I played Park the Bus at the weekend, and that did not go so well at all. Actually, unfortunately, it's like everybody I had at back conceded once. So people who don't play Gaffer are like, what are you talking about? Proper boost. I'll say boost for Jamie Roberts' benefit because they're chips, really, aren't they, Jamie? Dan, Gary, thank you both so much. Clash of Correspondence next week. You thought you were depressed, Gary. Sheffield United versus Everton with Ben Tomo Thompson and Sean Norton will be available for you next Friday ahead of the game week 4 deadline. And I can't wait. It should be an absolute cracker, actually. Gary, Dan, thank you both so much. Suj will be back with me for the Sky Fantasy Pod tomorrow. Cue music, please, man child.